Hello and welcome to Season 2 of the Black Hole Podcast entitled Femme Party. Femme Party is the name of a novel or a book that I've written, and I'm going through episode by episode reading each chapter for this podcast. Before I begin reading, I like to precursor by saying any profits made from the sale of this book will go towards founding a technology company similar to the one proposed in this book and building a solar farm in my hometown of Utica, Pennsylvania. So you can find the book by searching Femme Party on Amazon Kindle, or you can go to either of my websites, mitch4mayor.com, that's Mitch, the number 4, mayor.com, or plotm.com. Plot, the letter M.com. So let's get started on Chapter 2. It has been several years since the meeting between Lucy, Angelina, and Mitch in Utica, Pennsylvania. Together, they have built and grown a successful technology company worth over $1 billion. They have added celebrity investors to their company, and it grew through social media exposure. Mitch was elected CEO and has continued on in this position as the company has expanded. Mitch was able to purchase Doc's farm with his new salary, and while he kept his residency in Pittsburgh, the people of Utica elected him mayor of the small town of roughly 200 people. As discussed, Lucy and Angelina purchased homes in Venango County shortly after their meeting years ago and are now preparing for the mayoral elections of both Oil City and Franklin, which happen to fall in the same year. A drone with a camera is launched from French Creek Farms, a small campground along French Creek, upstream from Utica. We can see the lower field with the campground as the drone adds altitude. The upper field has cows and a Christmas tree farm, and the large red farmhouse that Mitch painted can be seen. The Presbyterian church across the street comes into view, followed by 2 blocks of houses spread quite far apart. The drone circles the elementary school and flies over the post office, then comes over the volunteer fire department. Now we see the playground and 2 more blocks of houses. The drone banks right and follows the lower creek road, and we can see the bridge that crosses Mill Creek. Mill Creek borders one side of Doc's farm and empties into the French Creek, which forms another border of Doc's farm. The drone spots a small camera crew near the French Creek end of the large field on Doc's farm. The drone decreases altitude to get a better look at the camera crew on the property. As it comes closer to the ground, it turns 90 degrees and we see a perfectly clear picture of Lucy aiming a shotgun at the camera. An explosion of sparks come out of the barrel and the drone shot ends abruptly. Mitch says, "Nice shot, Lucy." Lucy says, "I've always wanted to do that." The drone lies smoldering on the ground. The camera crew is set up around a series of ditches about 8 feet deep in the field. A concrete truck makes its way down the crude path along the Mill Creek side of the field. Mitch coordinates with the camera crew and Lucy puts the shotgun back in her truck. She makes her way over to Mitch. Lucy says, "Mitch, we need to talk." Mitch says, "That's fine, Lucy, but I don't want to hold this truck up, so can you hang out while we shoot this segment?" Lucy says, "Sure, but what is all this?" Mitch says, "I'll explain later." The concrete truck is positioned at the site and the concrete begins pouring from the chute. Mitch gets in front of the camera. He is wearing denim overalls from his coal mining days. Mitch says, "So as you can see, we have used a backhoe to dig these 8-foot deep ditches. They form an elongated rectangular hashtag in the ground. The rectangle is the exact measurement of a standard steel shipping container. The ditches extend past the corner 8 feet in each direction. Now we are going to fill these ditches with concrete and anchor these steel eyelets at each corner and 2 through the lengthwise stretch of the ditch while the concrete is still wet. The eyelets are inserted into the concrete at the anchor locations after the concrete is poured." Mitch picks up a 6-foot-long piece of metal with a 3-inch diameter round circle at one end and says, As you can see, these eyelets will be placed into the middle of the concrete and anchored into it. If you don't have solid soil and are building this foundation in a sandy area, you may need to set up dividers and braces to keep the sand from falling into the ditches. Our hope is that the 8-foot extended concrete fins off each corner will hold the foundation in the ground even during hurricane-force winds. The truck is pumping concrete into the ditches in the background as Mitch finishes up in front of the camera. He walks over to his ATV and the camera crew moves to another position to cover the pouring of the concrete. After getting a drink of water, Mitch walks over to Lucy's truck. Lucy says, "Mitch, it's election year and I want to talk about my campaign platform. It's just that everyone wants free or low-cost internet like Angelina's platform, and I'm not sure how many people want protection from addictive substances hijacking their finances. My platform can't entirely rely on banning residents from purchasing alcohol and tobacco on credit." Mitch says, "Do you trust me, Lucy? As I said before, I have a whole plan for how your party can change the world into a better place starting at the local level. I just can't lay it all out to you at once, or I would never get these lovely visits." Lucy says, "I do trust you, Mitch. Of course I trust you. You've almost quadrupled my net worth in a matter of years. I've lived here for a few years now, and I just can't gauge how these people will vote. I'm not sure that government interference in finances is at the core of the Republican Party." Mitch says, "You're right, it's not. But the Republicans are all for interference in the criminal code, arresting more people for victimless crimes. This results in fines that do affect people's finances. I have confidence that you can go in a different direction. File the paperwork to run for mayor of Oil City. Get your team together and come back out here to visit in a week. I'll have a new campaign promise you can make that more aligns with the Republican Party. It's all about shipping containers." Lucy says, "Shipping containers?" Mitch says, "Wave of the future, Lucy. Shipping containers." The woman at the Franklin courthouse looks dumbstruck at Angelina. Angelina slides the paperwork across the counter with a smile. Angelina says, "This is my petition to run for mayor with the requisite signatures. Here's a check for my filing fee to be put on the ballot." The clerk says, "But I heard you owned a house here, but mayor?" Angelina says, "I believe I can do a lot of good in this community. So is there a receipt or another form or something?" The clerk says, "Let me get you a receipt and you'll be all set." Angelina says, "So this means I'll be on the ballot?" The clerk says, "That's correct." It's a beautiful sunny day outside of the two-towered courthouse. Angelina walks out of the front door to an adjacent parking spot. She gets into the passenger side of a Tesla. Robin Rite, the Netflix producer and actress, is in the driver's seat. Robin says, "Is it done?" "That simple," Angelina responds. The car pulls out and the two drive to Angelina's Victorian home. They enter the house and congregate in the kitchen. Angelina gets into a cupboard and pulls out 2 champagne flutes. Angelina says, "Should we have a little champagne to celebrate?" Robin says, "Absolutely." Angelina pours the bubbly and the 2 women hold their glasses up. Robin says, "To a successful campaign." Angelina says, "To the future." They clink glasses and take a sip. Robin says, "Should we call Mitch and tell him the news?" Angelina says, "No, we only talk politics in person. Tomorrow we'll drop by the farm and see if he is home." The next morning, Mitch is using a tractor to drill a telephone pole-sized hole in the field at Doc's farm near where the foundation was poured. A Tesla drives through the field and approaches where he is working. Mitch doesn't notice the car until it gets within 10 yards. He shuts off the tractor and removes his work gloves, setting them on the fender of the tractor. Angelina and Robin get out of the vehicle and wait for Mitch to approach them. Mitch says, "Howdy." Angelina says, "Mitch, I'd like to introduce you to my campaign manager, Robin Rite." Mitch says, "Nice to finally meet in person. I'd shake your hand, but I'm a bit dirty." Robin says, "Nice to meet you as well. Thank you again for allowing me into your business." Mitch says, "It's not my business. I'm just the idea man. You ladies are the real assets." Angelina says, "We wanted to talk campaign strategy with you." Mitch says, "Have you gotten on the ballot yet?" Angelina says, "As of yesterday." Mitch says, "Great. Well, you are two extremely intelligent women. I'm confident you can come up with a strategy. The basic platform is that if Angelina is elected mayor, she will deliver low-cost or free internet and cable that is owned by the city of Franklin. Angelina says, but how are we going to deliver that? Mitch says, I've made both of you millions of dollars from your investments. Why not offer to buy the cable company and deliver the low-cost internet? If you're worried about recouping your initial purchase, you could say that it is a loan to be paid back over the course of 10 years through the citizen payments for cable and internet. The cable company charges a premium in these rural communities, so people will gladly pay back the loan through lower charges. Then after 10 years, the cable company becomes a self-sufficient entity facilitated by city employees. Robin says, I see, so it's like an investment in a small community to allow them to educate themselves through the information highway. Angelina says, but what's the next step? Mitch says, I have a plan that will incentivize and subsidize everyone in Franklin driving electric vehicles. But for now, this platform will get you elected. Once you're elected, come back and visit and we'll discuss further options for the direction you can take this city. I am willing to invest my own money and technology to help you accomplish our goal after you are elected. Robin says, is there any extra incentive for me getting her elected? Mitch says, of course. I think it's time we begin securing some patents. Instead of the company securing those patents, I think it's best if individuals apply for them. Robin says, this sounds interesting. I've never looked into owning a patent before. Is it for some type of product? Angelina says, are we about to hear one of your famous pitches, Mitch? Mitch says, it's just an idea I have for a consumer product. I call it the Bandit. Robin says, the Bandit? Tell me more. Mitch says, it's the band-it. Tired of the elastic wearing out of your favorite masks or headgear? Whether it's a camouflage hunting mask, your favorite Halloween mask, or a Mardi Gras mask, Bandit is here to help. The Bandit system comprises of 3 pieces. There are 2 short pieces of nylon strap with a biting clamp on one end and a receiver clip on the other. And there's 1 longer piece of elastic with a patented nip clip on each end. To use it, simply cut your old worn-out elastic band, leaving a 1/2 inch of material attached to the mask on each side. Take the 2 short pieces of the Bandit system and use the biting clamp to attach to the 1/2 inch piece of nylon, or attach the biting clamp directly to the mask. Crush the clamps, creating a permanent bond to the mask and leaving the opposite end with the nip clip receiver. Each side of the mask will now have a permanently attached nylon strap with a receiver ready for the band. Then take the fresh elastic band with the patented nip clips and click them into the receiver on each side of the mask. The nip clip is a plastic clip shaped like a nipple that slides into the receiver. When inserted entirely, the nipple pops up through a round hole in the receiver. This allows you to remove the elastic band when it becomes worn out and insert a fresh one onto the nylon straps permanently attached to your mask. The Bandit comes in a 3-piece starter kit, or you can just buy elastic bands that attach using the patented nip clip. Both ladies smile and chuckle. Robin says, you want me to patent a nip clip? Mitch says, yes, a locking plastic clip system that looks like a nipple. Angelina says, marketing genius, the Bandit. Robin says, what if she doesn't win the election? Are you going to take your idea back? Mitch says, the idea is yours. Start on it whenever you want. I just want to reuse my lucky camouflage mesh turkey hunting mask, so the sooner the better. Angelina says, you are an eco-idea man. Thanks for the talk. We'll be in touch. The 2 women walk toward their car. The knee-high grass leaves granules on their jeans. Mill Creek trickles nearby, and Angelina points out a circle of hawks in the distance. Robin opens the passenger side door. Just as Angelina reaches the other side, Mitch says, Angelina, good luck. She smiles and gets into the car. The 2 ladies drive through the grassy trail in the bumpy field. Robin says, he is ridiculous. Angelina says, nip clip. They laugh. Robin says, it is a really good idea, though. Angelina says, think of how much less plastic will end up in landfills, and you'll be the one credited with starting the company. The car makes its way through the town of Utica. There is a family at the playground, and the dad does a double take as the car drives by. A group of kayakers pass by Doc's farm near sunset, and Al shrieks as the sky turns black. The camera crew is back at Doc's farm on a sunny day. Mitch is setting up in front of the foundation that was poured on the previous shoot. A truck with a full-size shipping container backs its way down the trail to the spot of the concrete. A backhoe rolls into place on its tracks, and some people attach cables to the long arm of the backhoe. The backhoe lifts the shipping container off of the truck and rolls it toward the foundation. The unit director points at Mitch. Mitch on camera says, "We're on to phase 2 of our project. As you can see, we have brought in a shipping container and we are placing it on our elongated hashtag. Once we have this container in place, we will attach steel cables through the eyelets we anchored into the concrete and tighten them around the shipping container. This will allow the shelter to stand up to hurricane-force winds. At the end of the container with the doors, we will construct a framed-in room that can serve as a kitchen or a stairwell to a second shipping container that can be stacked on top of this one and secured in the same way. In future segments, we will show you how to cut window and door holes into your container using a cutting torch. Because iron is one of the most abundant ores in the Earth's crust, we believe these containers can house a lot of people safely and stand up to bad weather better than traditional homes." The camera crew gets shots of the container being put in place, then of the steel cable being cut and attached to the eyelets, and finally of the steel cable being tightened down. The crew packs up and Mitch opens up a cooler of beer to offer the crew. They drink as the large truck evacuates the field. Later that day, Mitch takes a conference call involving the technology company. He wakes the next morning to multiple calls about the company. Towards evening, he uses a tractor to place a telephone pole in the hole he had previously dug. While he is struggling to get the pole perfectly vertical and backfill it in, Lucy drives her truck to the site. Mitch sees the truck approach and jumps off the tractor. Lucy and another woman get out of the truck and walk over to meet Mitch. Lucy says, "Mitch, this is my campaign manager, Levy Tram." Mitch says, "Yeah, you're on that television series with the Mr. Fix-It guy. Nice to meet you." Levy says, "Your reputation precedes you. Nice to finally meet." Lucy says, "What you doing?" Mitch says, "Well, as you can see, the Mill Creek side of the farm has electric running nearly all the way to French Creek." Lucy says, "I see that." Mitch says, "I got my shipping container. Now I just need to get electric to it. So I'm putting this pole near it, and I'm going to get my uncle to run service to it. You guys should really come check it out. Follow me." The three walk over to the shipping container, and Mitch opens the doors. Mitch says, "Isn't it great?" Lucy says, "It's a big, empty shipping container." Mitch says, "Wave of the future." Levy says, "Wave of the future?" Mitch says, "That's right. Now, Lucy, last time we saw each other, you were worried that your platform didn't align with Republican ideals, right?" Lucy says, "Correct." Mitch says, "But Republicans are known for supporting a strong military, correct?" Lucy says, "Correct." Mitch says, "So these small cities like Oil City have a lot of empty lots where houses have been torn down. Part of your platform can be a military incentive program involving allowing shipping containers to occupy these empty lots tax-free." Levy says, "Can you explain further?" Mitch says, "I've been approached by the military to use our company to make computer hardware for the government. I told them I'm not ready to diversify into that at this point, but that I did have some pilot programs that I wanted to launch in conjunction with the military. This is one of them." Lucy says, "Tell me more." Mitch says, "So 18-year-old kids get a bonus for joining the military and usually use it to go out and buy a new car. What I am proposing is that we help them save their money with an incentive program. I've reached out to several foreign car companies and am currently working with Volkswagen to develop this program. Basically, if an enlisted military personnel purchases a new Volkswagen, they will also receive the shipping container it was shipped in instead of receiving a discount. If Lucy is elected, she will allow military people to have those containers placed on a vacant parcel in Oil City. Now, instead of storing everything they own at their parents' house while they go to basic training, school, and possibly deploy abroad, they can store their belongings in a shipping container. Then, when they come back to their hometown of Oil City on leave, they can borrow the equipment they need to convert one of these shipping containers into a living space. So now, at the age of 18, they are not only purchasing a new car, but potentially a house. Once they are skilled at building their own house out of a shipping container, I may have another program where they can build them in the islands or South America. This way, they may be able to afford a home in their hometown and one in the islands after they are done with their enlistment. Levy says, interesting. I think we can work with that. Lucy says, tell me about, I'm assuming, the Caribbean islands. Mitch says, that's where this container comes into play. I have been shooting a how-to video on how to build these things to stand up to hurricanes. During Hurricane Irma in 2017, the island of Barbuda was completely decimated. Everyone was successfully evacuated to Antigua before the hurricane hit. I thought as mayor of Utica, I would reach out to the governor of Barbuda and try to work out a program to rebuild that island using shipping containers. My hope is that the military will devote some of its resources to this program as well. Levy says, why would the military rebuild an island in the Caribbean that isn't U.S. territory? Mitch says, I'm hoping with Lucy's successful campaign for this program that the military will see a benefit from having an island in the Caribbean where former military personnel can live and build these housing units out of shipping containers. They can then be shipped to any coastal city in South America as a way to provide low-cost housing to the international community. Plus, I feel like an island nation that has an evacuation plan for the entire island should be rewarded for its efforts. Instead, the island remains mostly deserted. Lucy says, I see. You are outlining where the program could go if federally funded, but it starts with Oil City. Mitch says, correct. I just thought it would be nice if military personnel could learn how to build their own housing instead of ending up on the streets homeless as many do. They could take that meager bonus and use it to secure housing in the future when they are out of the military. Levy says, could we walk it back a little bit? Enlisted military persons would be offered a parcel of land in Oil City tax-free? Mitch says, possibly. That's up to you and the people of Oil City. What I'm suggesting is that the blighted properties that Oil City has taken ownership of be torn down, and condemned buildings can be offered to enlisted people at a very low price. Lucy says, but they could also purchase a parcel of land at market value from a private seller and also not have to pay property taxes on the empty lot? Mitch says, exactly. So they would be incentivized to take half of their bonus and buy a piece of property in their hometown and use the other half as a down payment on a new Volkswagen. They receive the property, buy the car, and arrange delivery of their shipping container. Levy says, depending on how many people are interested in the program, Oil City could offer city-owned parcels for free to enlisted military personnel. Out of curiosity, how many people enlist from this area? Mitch says, good question. This area was economically declined when I was in high school, just as it is now. I talked to a recruiter back then who told me that they barely need to actively recruit to meet their goals. Unlike in the more urban areas, he said the people just walk into the recruitment center on a regular basis and sign up because there just aren't that many jobs around. So I would say quite a few people from these small communities enlist. Lucy says, does the military know about this program? Mitch says, I've pitched it to some of my contacts, but it really relies on some small-town mayors offering empty parcels tax-free to military personnel. And I'm hoping you're the first to start this movement, Lucy. Levy says, this gives us a lot to work with, Mitch. But I heard from a little bird that you offered Angelina's campaign manager a genius patent idea. Do you have anything for me? Mitch says, I do have a patent idea that I believe will be most valuable if passed through the Chinese or Vietnamese patent office. It is a clothing patent, and a lot of our clothes come from Asian countries. Levy says, just because I'm of Asian descent doesn't mean I can make that happen, but I'm listening. Mitch says, I understand, but if you could look into the process, I would be very appreciative. as I have little faith in my own patent office. It's a simple idea for a garment, particularly a hooded sweatshirt. It is common practice to take off long-sleeve shirts and tie them around one's waist. I've noticed that the knot tied in the sleeve usually comes undone when walking. My suggestion is patenting a hooded sweatshirt with buttons halfway down one sleeve and loops halfway down the opposite sleeve. This way people can take their long-sleeve shirt off and button it using the adjustable button system built into the shirt. They fit most common waist sizes. Levy says, "You are full of ideas, aren't you? Do you plan to manufacture these shirts in an Asian country?" Mitch says, "Once you secure the patent, you can manufacture them wherever you would like. Come to me if you need investors to get your new clothing company off the ground." Lucy says, "I would invest in that. As always, Mitch, it's nice seeing you again." Mitch says, "If I'm not here, I'm in Pittsburgh. I won't leave the area now that your campaigns have begun. I'll be watching the paper for the news of your progress. As always, come see me anytime." Mitch closes the shipping container as the two actresses walk back to the truck. The truck makes its way back to the paved road running in front of the farmhouse. Once the truck is on the pavement, Lucy guns the gas, squealing the tires down the creek road running along the field. Mitch shakes his head and waves to them as they speed away. And that's the end of chapter 2. So before I switch to my best announcer voice and do some advertisements from sponsors that are sponsoring the podcast, I just want to say that as I said on the last episode, I do have there is a smattering of ideas for a technology company throughout this book, as well as other ideas like patents and things like that. But I did save some ideas to develop myself, a technology company to develop myself. And one idea is for a social media platform designed to fight misinformation. So if you have a computer science degree or know someone with a computer science degree and want to find out more, I can send you a description of this social media account and also how I intend to form a company. I'm looking for people to partner up with me, and I have saved some money for an initial investment into the company. So you can email me using the email forms on either the Plot M website or the Mitch for Mayor website, and I'll send you some documents to show you what I have in mind. As usual, thanks for sharing and listening to the podcast, sharing on your social media and other things. So here's my best announcer voice. Since French Creek Farms was in this podcast, are you looking for camping in the mystical Utica, Pennsylvania? Look into French Creek Farms. It's family camping at its best. Would you like to stay in a cabin without electricity or water? Try the Trapper Cabin, or any of the luxurious sites next to the French Creek. Looking for a more modern stay? Stay in the cottage with electric, heat, water, and power. Stay at the cottage. Check into French Creek Farms today. If you find yourself in Incheon, South Korea, stop by Liquor Burger. Liquor Burger has the finest foods and spirits. Stop by Liquor Burger today in Incheon, South Korea. Tell them Mitch sent you. So that's it for this episode. Thanks for listening.